Episode 151 of Australia's #1 marketing show. We're talking how to fire a client, newsletters, yellow pages, low-cost brand reminders, plus I get a kiss from one listener and a serious kick up the bum from another.
Welcome to the Small Business Big Marketing Show, where successful small business owners share their secrets to take your marketing to the next level. Now here's your host, Tim Reid.
G'day listeners, and welcome back to Australia's favourite marketing show. I am your host, Timbo Reid, but you, so much more importantly, are a motivated small business owner ready to crank, and I mean crank, out some great marketing. That's what we are here to do today. That's why this show exists. And we are brought to you by the very good folk at Net Registry, who are there to get your online marketing sorted. That's right, anything in regards to domain name registration, website hosting, design and development, pay-per-click advertising, that means Google AdWords and Facebook ads, search engine optimization, you name it. The good folks at Net Registry are there to get your online marketing sorted. So go over and have a look at netregistry.com.au and get a bit of online marketing love. And hello to everyone from the Flying Solo community as well. Catching up with both those guys from Flying Solo and Net Registry later in the week at an event, followed by a small business big marketing meetup, which I'm very, very excited about. Finally, been meaning to put together a meetup for a long time. Finally bit the bullet, and we are meeting this Thursday, which I'm really excited about. If you want to find out more about that or future small business big marketing meetups, then go over to meetup.com/small business big marketing. And you can register. Doesn't matter what state or what part of the world you're in. You never know where I might turn up. But we've got about 40, as of right now, with about a week out, we've got 40 people registered for that meetup. Don't know how many are going to turn up, but I'm pretty excited about that. Just fantastic, to meet people who have been listeners of this show for a long time or a short time. But what I do know is that they're all motivated small business owners, and we love a bit of motivation, for which I have for you today in a very unusual form. Let me share what I'm going to go through with you today in order to ramp up your marketing. It's a bit of a listener love in this episode of Small Business Big Marketing, but here's some stuff we're going to cover. Speaking of motivation in an unusual form, I am going to share with you the top 5 regrets of the dying. I know. Mind you, if that's not motivating, and it came to me from a very motivated person in itself. So come to that in a minute. Nice bit of feedback on Facebook, all about punching way above your marketing weight. We are going to talk about how to crank out a good newsletter, or whether actually you should. That's a listener question. A little bit more heartfelt feedback. Then I am going to get an absolute caning from a listener. I have also got some low-cost brand reminder ideas. That's in response to a listener question. How to get conversions from Facebook, from music studio, how to fire a client. We are going to talk about firing. We are talking about saying no. A little bit of a yellow pages update for all of you who just love the yellow pages. And there's plenty more in this episode of Australia's #1 marketing show. So grab that pen and paper, I would suggest, and let's get stuck right into it. Alrighty, well, a few weeks ago, I happened to be in the office of a past guest of this show, Charles Badenach. Charles appeared on episode 145 of the Small Business Big Marketing Show. Charles is a financial advisor based down in Hobart in Tasmania, and he is fully embracing and using incredibly effectively a content marketing strategy. Have a listen to episode 145 if you want to hear how to really crank out some clever content marketing. Anyway, I'm in Charles's office having a bit of a chinwag, and a very motivated, focused guy is Charles, and he had this printout sitting on his desk, sort of in this sort of yellow, see-through, not yellow, clear plastic see-through envelope. And he said, "Hey, Timbo, have you seen the top 5 regrets of the dying?" Because we were talking about, what motivates us and where we seek our inspiration. I said, "No, I haven't." And he just passed me over these 2 bits of paper, which I'm not going to go into any great detail. Suffice to share with you the top 5 regrets of the dying, because it is incredibly motivating, and it just makes you it's an incredibly focused piece of writing. This lady, Bronnie Ware, is an Australian nurse who spent several years working in palliative care, caring for patients in the last 12 weeks of their lives. And she just did a whole lot of research and asked them, what were their regrets? And here they are. Number 1, and these are in order: I wish I had the courage to live a life true to myself, not the life others expected of me. I'm not even going to try and put a marketing twist on this, guys. I'm actually going to look and see whether I can track down Bronnie and get an interview, because I think as small business owners, this is motivating stuff. So often we're stuck working in the business and forget to put our head above the trenches and remind ourselves of what's really, really important to us. And I think we should all seek motivation, whether it be quotes or books. You've heard me say before, we should never stop learning. So yeah, I think this would be an interesting interview. So number 1, I wish I had the courage to live a life true to myself, not the life others expected of me. Number 2, regret of the dying: I wish I hadn't worked so hard. Wow. Hey, what about that? Every small business owner out there listening to this is working their proverbial off. And sometimes we just got to ask ourselves, are we working too hard? Are we working on the right stuff? Number 3, I wish I had the courage to express my feelings. There actually are so many marketing spins I could put on this, but I'm not going to do it right now at the expense of cheapening what are some pretty motivating kind of reminders. The number 4, the 4th regret of the dying: I wish I had stayed in touch with my friends. And number 5, I wish that I had let myself be happier. What about that? I'll put these in the show notes to episode 151 of the Small Business Big Marketing Show. Have a look at them. They under each of the 5 regrets, there's a little bit of copy. It's a bit of a blog post, and I think it's incredibly motivating. I have now printed them. I have them on my wall, and they are stark reminders of what's important to us in life. Because you know what? Sometimes that pay-per-click advertising headline, that little billboard that you want to run, that search engine optimization strategy just shrinks into not being so important when you look at these top 5 regrets of the dying. I shared them in the way to motivate us at the top of the show. I've now got a whole lot of listener questions and feedback that I'm going to tackle. Hope you enjoyed that. Let's get on to the rest of it. Alrighty, I should have said up front, by the way, that the reason there hasn't been a show out for a couple of weeks, and thank you to listeners who have been emailing me and saying, "Where are you, Timbo?" I just got taken down by an incredibly rough old flu. Couldn't talk, had a head full of cold, aches and pains. I think it was a little bit more than the man flu. I'm going to put my hand up and say, yeah, look, there was a bit of man flu involved, but mainly it was just a nasty flu, and it's still got a bit of it, but I'm back punching above my marketing weight. All right, now I've got a listener question here from young Ronnie Covenants, I should say. I always get Ronnie's name wrong. Long-time listener of the show, and he's got a great question, which I know many of you have around newsletters. He says, "Hi Timbo, trust you are well, and I know keeping busy. Some advice, please. I have been using a chap to help me with the newsletter, and he is charging a bomb. Need probably a cheaper alternative. I am also not sure whether it should be monthly as we are currently doing. I'm conscious of overkill. Any thoughts on or advice on the strategy moving forward? Cheers, Ronnie." Well, Ronnie, number 1, I'll give you 8 points. I'll give you 8 points. Number 1, get clear on why it is you're doing a newsletter. I am not a raving fan about newsletters. I'm assuming by a newsletter you mean an email newsletter, that kind of colourful thing that goes out to people. Many businesses send out lots of colours and pictures and headlines and all sorts of stuff going on. Number 1, get absolutely clear on why you are doing a newsletter. What's the objective behind it, and what's in it for the recipient? Now, that leads me into the next point. Ensure it offers extreme value. It must solve a problem. If it's a newsletter promoting upcoming events or a special that you've got on or that type of stuff, forget it. Leave those kind of newsletters to the Groupons and Scoop-ons and Catch of the Day type people, where people are expecting those kind of offers. But I think a newsletter for a small business like yours, Ron, and you're in commercial asset finance, I reckon it needs to add value. It needs to educate the recipients on what's going on in the commercial finance market and help them make more informed decisions. Not using fancy language or industry speak, but just using good old common language and helping. Remember, we only listen to one radio station, and it's called WIIFM. What's in it for me? Number 3, Ronnie, don't overcrowd it, mate. One message, I reckon. I'm really strong on this. I'm finding with emails that I send out, and I don't send newsletters, I just send emails. One message emails seem to work the best. One message, one link. I've tried a number of different things, included 4 or 5 different things linking off to different parts of my website. But I think the one message, one newsletter or one email, one message seems to work best. So don't overcrowd it. That takes courage, because you think, there's so many things I do want to say. But remember how we consume information. That's very single-minded. Number 4, text, not pretty pics. I just think text is better than pretty pics. You can still do an HTML email, which allows you to have links in it, but get all the pictures and fancy headlines and colours and all that stuff out. I can't help but think, and I've said it before, that these fancy looking newsletter templates that come with a lot of these software packages like Aweber and MailChimp, I can't help but think they're there to justify people's existence as opposed to actually helping market your business. I see in organisations where an employee can go up to the boss and say, hey, look at this beautiful newsletter I've created. And it might look amazing, all fancy, but, as a piece of communication, it may break every single rule and just confuse and clog up the inbox and the consumer's mind, as opposed to helping them with good quality information. So I'm inclined to try a text email that just links off. So you text email one message that entices people as to what the email is all about, and then linking off to your website. You don't want them reading the whole email in their inbox, Ronnie. You want them to click off and go to a page on your website where the entire 100% of the article appears, because then they're on your website, then they can see other parts of your business, and then they are one step away from calling you or visiting you. So that's what I do there. Nail that subject line. It's so important to get that subject line right. That's what we see arrive in the inbox, and it's got to be enticing. And you would have heard me say before, listeners, go to the newsagent, stand in front of the magazine stand, have a look at what Men's Health, Clio, Cosmopolitan, Vogue, BRW, all those magazines. Look at the headlines on the front cover, because they are nailing the headlines. They are getting those headlines to the point that are so enticing that you can't help at least pick up the magazine, if not buy the magazine. And that's the intention. So the structure of those headlines are absolutely what we should be following. So nail the subject line. All right, keep it short. My 7th tip, keep it short. You've got to, like our attention spans these days are so limited. So I would be looking at good use of subheads, bullet pointed text, bold key phrases, but keep it really short, because we tend to skim read. And lastly, number 8, enable replies. Whenever I send an email, I always put a PS, hit reply, I'm waiting, got a question, hit reply. So many emails we get say, do not reply. They're non-replyable emails. I don't get that. As a business, if you are sending an email out to a list and interrupting their day, then you could at least give them the opportunity to reply, maybe with a question or an inquiry, some feedback, whatever it is. So, I think that's really important, and not only enable replies, but also let people know that they can reply. So, Ronnie, thank you so much for your email. And listeners, if you want to check out Ronnie, go over to Ron, I'll spell it. So his website is Ron, then CHOWANETZ.com.au, and he can sort, I reckon, all your kind of commercial finance stuff out right there. You need to buy a tractor, and you all do. Head over and talk to Ronnie. All right, thanks for your question about newsletters, Ron. Alrighty, well, the Small Business Big Marketing Forum is rocking along. There's plenty of motivated small business owners in there cranking out some great questions about their own business and answering questions on behalf of other small businesses who are wanting to do great marketing. We've added a couple of things of recent days. I had a bit of a fireside chat with David Council from Inferno Marketing down in Tassie. There's a bit of a Tassie theme happening here. And David approached me. He's a long-time listener of the show, and he approached me a few weeks ago and wanted to have a bit of a yarn about Yellow Pages and where it's all at from a small business marketing point of view. I think we know. But David and I hooked up and had a chat earlier this week, and just kind of, David's got some really strong views about Yellow Pages and how small businesses can reduce and or optimize their listing, and also where you can reallocate your spend once you do reduce your spend in the Yellow Pages and White Pages for that matter. So David and I had a great old chinwag, bit of an update on where that whole marketing channel is or isn't at, I should say, and that's an exclusive bit of additional educational material, I guess, that sits in the classroom section of the Small Business Big Marketing Forum. I've also got, you may remember, last episode was with Mike Rhodes, who is the Google AdWords specialist. Mike went and answered some additional questions for forum members only, exclusive to forum members only, and really dug deep on some specifics around remarketing and how to get the most of your Google AdWords strategy and all that type of stuff. That is in the forum as well. That's an additional, that's an audio file, and so was my chat with David Council from Inferno Marketing. And we've also just got some great discussion happening around people putting up video scripts that they want people's views on. Another guy's wanting a point of view on how to do the best advertising for his business. We have got another guy who is re-engineering his website, and all the forum members are giving their feedback around that. So plenty going on in the Small Business Big Marketing Forum. Head over, if you want to join, to smallbusinessbigmarketing.com. Click on the forum button and you will be in there before you can say, geez, isn't this an amazing forum? So look forward to seeing you in there. I'm in there once a day myself. So I get this email from a listener of the show, Nick Rose. Nick is the Booze Baron. You can go and visit Nick at theboozebaron.com. What a great name. And Nick, I know, enjoys the show, and so much so that he wanted to share a little win that he had as a result of listening to the Small Business Big Marketing show over recent months. Look, it feels a little bit of a navel gaze for me to share this with you because it's a beautiful, beautiful piece of feedback that really touched my heart. But I also want to share it with you to hope you find some motivation from it, because what he's done is just gone and done something around his marketing. He's gone and got stuff done, and that's what I aim to do when I produce an episode of this show. I want to move you into action and want you to realize that some of this marketing stuff that we talk about isn't necessarily that hard. You see, I know that most small businesses have these limiting beliefs around a lack of time, a lack of money, and a lack of knowledge that stops them from doing great marketing. And I kind of want to put the cobwash on that and prove that it's not true. And let me share what Nick's written. He says, "Hey, Timbo, just wanted to share something with you. I just completed my first real outsourcing gig. A huge task in my mind became a Fiverr solution, and I am getting real ka-ching moments today because of it." Fiverr is a simple outsourcing site you can go to. "The freedom, achievement, and self-belief that came from something so small blew me away. I never would have bit the bullet and hired out the task without your podcast." Well done, Nick, for biting the bullet, mate. Major first step. "I would never have redesigned and SEO enhanced my site without you, putting that information out there. It's a long way to go yet, but with everything else that has happened this year and my obsession with trying to do too many things, this small victory just had a huge impact on me." We have got so much going on, and we do have this obsession about having too many balls in the air, and we as small business owners do try to do everything ourselves. And it's fraught with danger. I'm as guilty as anyone. We try to do too many things. We're either control freaks, we're not good at delegating, and I think sometimes we've just got to bite the bullet, hand something over, and in handing it over, not only watch it get done, but feel what it's like to get it done and have that sense of achievement, knowing that you didn't have to do it. I go on with Nick's note. Most importantly, the way you personally seem to naturally make a listener believe that you can do what you describe has been a huge game changer in my life. Wow, thanks, Nick. I don't really know how to put it, even though I'm not always putting in much effort to get in touch. You have helped me achieve a whole lot. It was amazing how I felt when someone in Romania fixed a week-long task while I slept last night. Yeah, that's amazing in itself. I mean, outsourcing and getting that virtual marketing team isn't necessarily all about finding someone on the other side of the world who's working while you're sleeping, but often that is the case. I mean, outsourcing is about finding A players. It's about creating a virtual marketing team of A players, people who can do various marketing tasks for your business. They may well be on the other side of the world, and in Nick's case, clearly they were. He goes on to say, dude, mate, Tim, thank you from the bottom of my heart. Huge impact, small action, and all because you do a podcast so damn well. Ha ha. See you soon, Nick the Booze Baron. Nick, mate, thank you for, first of all, taking action and moving your business forward. Well done. That's why I do what I do. Number two, thanks for putting those words down. It means a lot. Number three, listeners, whilst that was all about me, there is stuff in there for you. And, you know, content marketing alone, here we go, content marketing rant. But, you know, when you create content like I'm doing with the podcast and my blog and the forum, you are adding value to business or to people's lives, business owners, consumers, whoever your customers are. You are adding value. You are making a difference. You are solving problems. So, like, don't underestimate that. And emails like that from Nick and emails and updates on my Facebook and iTunes listener reviews that I get, yes, they're good for the ego, but they're a reminder that, hey, I'm building a brand. I'm building that emotional attachment, and you can and you should be too. No excuses. It's about pull marketing. It's about pulling people towards you by adding value, by helping them with some aspect of their life that your business can have an effect in. So, hey, Nick, the Booze Baron, mate, thank you so much, and keep it up, buddy. I would like to see another email maybe in the coming months to see that you've broken through another marketing blockage. Well done. All right. Well, following that wonderful gift of an email, I then received an email from Jake. Jake doesn't have a surname, but Jake is referring, he actually says he really enjoys the show. He's a new time listener and he really enjoys the show, but then he came across an episode where I gave a bit of advice. I think it was episode 148, where I gave a bit of advice as to how you may be able to get an interview on my show. He kind of saw it as arrogant advice, if I was to sum it up. Simply, he thought that I was setting the bar too high, and I'll read a little bit. It's quite a long email. I've highlighted some bits that Jake suggests where I could have been a bit kinder, I think. He says, I was shocked when I heard your soapbox rant about people trying to contact you. I liked the what's in it for me analogy, but thought it was actually quite rude to not even reply to an inquiry because it doesn't meet your criteria. So in episode 148, one of the things I spoke about was I'm getting a lot of requests from people. And in fact, it's on the Contact Us section of my website where you can request an interview. But I look at those requests and I need that, number one criteria is they need to be personal. They need to prove to me that they have listened to my show, that they know my name. That's pretty simple, because I can just, my intuition says when I see a request, it's either personalized or this is a request that they've cut and pasted and sent to a whole lot of podcasters, hoping, some will bite and some will take on them as an interview. I reviewed the 3 examples that I gave in episode 148, Jake, and of all 3 of them, one was 100% generic. There was no personalisation. I want personalisation. I think that's only reasonable. Number 2, the second one was there was no reason given for me to interview them. They just said, I reckon I should be interviewed on your show, basically. Yeah, well, give me a reason. Don't just flick me to a website to have a look. Give me a reason. The third example I gave, it didn't refer to my show's name, which again just suggested it was a generic email. So Jake goes on to say, let's hypothesize for a moment. What if some people might not be the nickname giving type? I don't expect everyone to call me Timbo. If they do in an email, that means they have listened to my show, because that's how I often refer to myself. In fact, that's how my family refers to me. But at least use my name. People might not mention your business name because they might feel they are only talking to you directly. Yeah, well, that's fair enough. But again, it's not my business name, it's my show's name. Hey, Timbo, I'd love to appear on Small Business Big Marketing. Here's my reason. That would be, that's not asking too much. Jake goes on to say, people don't get everything right the first time round. They are coming to you because they would like help or think they might be able to boost their profile by being on your podcast. Well, don't come to me if you need help in terms of getting an interview, because I interview successful small business owners who are cranking out some form of great marketing, so we, other small business owners, can all learn from it. If you want help and to improve your marketing, listen to the show, join the forum. This means they don't have it all together. If they did, then they wouldn't be part of your tribe. In fact, they'd have their own tribe competing for your listeners. Oh, I don't know, mate. There's room for everyone. But the reality is, I just want to attract people to interview. I want to attract interviewees who have really got it together and who are cranking out some form of great marketing. To cut my rant short, why ruin your great work by making your listeners feel belittled? Well, certainly I don't ever mean to do that. And they have to qualify to meet your standards, in inverted quotes. You drew me in on episode 149, but have almost lost me on 148. Oh, Jake, well, it'll be interesting to see whether you hear this. I hope you do, mate. He goes on, I'm going to put the shoe on the other foot now. What are you, again, inverted commas, going to do to keep me, inverted commas, listening to your show? You mentioned that you have a short attention span. Mate, I sure do, and like things to be kept short. Why assume your listeners are any different? I could pick any podcast to listen to. Why should I listen to yours? You don't have to, Jake. You don't have to, mate. But every time when I push the microphone, every time when I push that red button on the microphone to hit record, I just wanted to create quality content that helps small businesses improve their marketing return on investment. So if you want a reason to listen to the show, and Jake, I'm assuming you're a small business owner, you say you've got an accounting and financial planning firm, then, mate, that's why you would continue listening to this show. But I'm not going to force you. But I just wanted to respond to that because not all the feedback I get is roses. Sometimes I get a kick in the head. And, mate, Jake, bottom line, mate, I really appreciate you coming on board. I know you're enjoying the show, going by the rest of your email. But there are times when, I like to set some standards, and that's what I did in episode 148. Thanks, Jake. Alrighty, I have got a listener question around the whole area of branded merchandise. It comes from Stephen. Stephen is at peninsula-acupuncture.com.au. That's peninsula-acupuncture.com.au. And I'm guessing that is pretty close to my local area. I live on the Mornington Peninsula. He says, hi, Timbo. He listens to the show. I discovered your podcast about a month ago and have been listening to it religiously every week since. Thanks a lot, Stephen. Great tips and advice so far. Yeah, so far. Wait though, mate. There's more episodes coming. I run a natural medicine practice in Melbourne and recently paid to have fridge magnets and pens produced with my company logo and contact details imprinted on them. Just wondering what low-cost physical branding reminders you use or could recommend to keep my business in people's minds in the future. Steve, I don't use them, but there's other listeners that do because I put it out on the Small Business Big Marketing Facebook to get a bit of an idea. Number one, I'm not a massive fan of these things, pens and stress balls and rulers and key rings and, all that type of stuff. Not a big fan. I think money could be better spent elsewhere. Hello to all you merchandising companies out there. Feel free to call me and challenge me. But the reality is, I don't know, hard to measure. Probably to me, they'd be a secondary marketing medium. Not bad. I suppose if you've got a conference or an expo coming up and you want to stuff a show bag with some stuff, then that's a good place to start, but it can get pretty expensive. Now, suffice to say, I did put it out on the Facebook and I have got a whole lot of listeners, God bless them, come through with some ideas. So let's go through them, Steve, and see what they say. So Kirsty Wilson says, I haven't gone down this track myself for Interim Business Solutions. That's her company, but I do love the Journey Jottings fridge magnets. Oh, that must be a good fridge magnet. Max Smurden Hello, Mac. He says, for my home housekeeping business, personal housekeeping services, I have stickers with our logo that go on our fresh muffins. There's such a hit. Client really appreciates the extra personal touch. That's a great idea. Stickers on fresh muffins for a house cleaning business. Lawrence Petroni says gumball machines or post-it notes. Lainey Kelly says, for a plumber's business, we did tap-shaped fridge magnets. The quirkiness of the shape meant it was a keeper. In fact, I still use mine. Yeah, I think where you have a business where people need that phone number for emergencies or during important times, fridge magnets, I guess, can be really effective. We have got Ronnie Chownitz at Covenants. We answered a question from him earlier. He suggests notepads. Yeah, notepads are a useful thing. Matthew Smith says, although I supply these products to my clients, do the design and organise all the printing, I have never ventured into doing them myself. Although I do have pens, I think fridge magnets, although slightly more expensive than business cards, are more useful, durable, and memorable, as they are a little bit different. And if you have them as a novelty shape, even better. Yeah, that's fair enough. He also likes plastic business cards. He thinks they're a bit funky. Nadeem says, I have done pens and also microfiber cloths to clean phones, etc. Yeah, that's a nice idea. That's useful. I think when you create some merch, it's got to be useful. Adrian says USB flash drives. Heather Smith, previous guest of the show, says, instead of business cards, I give out bookmarks. After all, she's an author. She writes books. That's a good idea, like bookmarks. They're useful. Leah Molden says, shopping list magnet holders with a pad of paper for a supermarket or shopping centre list. Fantastic. So there's some ideas from listeners, Steve. I would also suggest those, given the business you're in, those life bands, those wristbands that we're seeing all over the place these days. They would be a good one. Ones that can track your walking or track your sleeping habits or movements. I think that would be a really good idea. Steve, again, mate, if I were you, given the business you're in, you've got a natural medicine practice, some other low-cost marketing ideas, get a podcast. I'm going to recommend this to every single listener that comes in with a marketing question. You just got to get a podcast. It's easy. It's high value, high perceived value to the recipient, low cost to you, the creator. It's a great way for you to share your knowledge. I wonder whether Facebook, Steve, would also be good. You could have a daily natural remedy. You could share some elixir recipes, inspirational quotes. You could bust some myths. Go to the Small Business Big Marketing Facebook, facebook.com/Small Business Big Marketing. And I use that to share the lighter side of marketing, where I share funny headlines, packaging, customer service stories, etc. So maybe you could do something similar to that in your area of expertise, Steve. Run some educationals, mate, in at your business of an evening or at lunchtimes at bigger firms in your local area, and educate people on natural medicines. And finally, maybe a weekly Q&A webinar or Google Hangout, where customers, clients know that once a week, Thursday at 9 a.m, you are going to be online to answer any of their questions. You could record those, you could put them on your website, put them on a YouTube channel, repurpose them, pull out the audio, create a podcast, transcribe them. You've got written reports, mate. The ideas are flowing. Look out. So, Steve, mate, I really appreciate you coming on board, listening to the show, and I hope there was some marketing GOLD right there. Alrighty, next listener question is from Ryan Hazel. Ryan has a business called ivorylanestudios.com in New South Wales. He says, hi Timbo, I've been loving your podcasts and plan to join your forum sometime soon. That'd be a good idea, Ryan, because there is a fellow on the forum who is in Las Vegas, one of my members, and he owns a studio and a music lessons company as well, and he is cranking out some great marketing and is very much the sharing type, and he would have some great ideas for your business as well. He says, I just have a quick question. I've been building my Facebook presence targeting my desired audience as much as possible. Where is the best place to start converting this presence into sales without being too annoying? My business is a recording studio, rehearsing studio, and PA hire for bands. So, it's basically, how do you start converting off Facebook? Good question. What you want to do, Ryan, is get them to your website, mate. So I've gone to your website. You've got some interesting specials hanging off the left-hand side there, 440-day with producer for studio hire. You've got rehearsals from $10 an hour, concert sound on a small scale, 12 years concert sound experience, all that type of stuff. You've got some crunchy offers there. I can't click on any of them, but the bottom line is, create useful posts on your Facebook that add value. I keep saying this, add value to your customers' lives, and then get them across to your website. So, for example, mate, what I'd do is I'd get a blog happening. You haven't got a blog on your website. And on that blog, get clear on your editorial mission. Go back to past episodes if you don't know what I'm talking about, and start blogging about things, about problems that are going to be, that your customers, your clients have that you can solve. Might be a written blog post. It could be an audio blog post. You're in that space. It could be a video. Then post that blog post on your Facebook. And when people click on it, it will take them back to your website, right? And that's where they can watch the video. That's when they can listen to the audio. That's when they can read the words that you've written. It might be an opinion around how to hire a studio. It might be some behind the scenes footage, all that type of stuff. And once they're at your website, you want your website to be set up so that there are special offers there and it is clear what services you offer. And that's when the action can start. So converting off Facebook, I think you want to get them to your website. That said, on your Facebook, I would suggest that you make better use of your apps. So if I was to just go to your Facebook, which I'm going to do right now as we speak, you've got those apps. Now, listeners, those apps are those 4 boxes that appear under your header at the top of your Facebook. You can't change photos, but you can change everything else there. Now, currently, what Ryan's got is likes, refer a friend, and contact. I'd be inclined to change one of those apps to weekly specials, and maybe another one, which is a sign-up app where people can sign up for a weekly newsletter, dare I say, probably not a weekly newsletter, some kind of special report or ebook that helps them in deciding to hire Ryan's studio. Now, you can get those apps made up pretty easily. There is a great website called northsocial.com that sells a whole lot of pre-made Facebook apps. I think there's a monthly subscription. It's not overly expensive, and basically you can just buy those apps directly off North Social and put them on your own Facebook. So they're the 2 things that I do, mate. Update your apps on your Facebook and start posting things that are going to get people back to your website, and just make sure your website is clearly set up for very smart, efficient conversion. I think one of the things I'm seeing on your website at the moment, Ryan, is that there is lots going on, mate. And I just think, all of us need to ask, what is the purpose of our website? What do we want people to do when they get there? Is it to register? Is it to buy? Is it to pick up the phone and contact? What do we want them to do? And once we're clear on that, the marketing equation starts to get a whole lot easier. Thanks for listening in, Ryan, and I hope that helped, mate.
Hey, Timbo. It's Sid from Waterloo, Canada. OMG. What an episode. My head is about to explode. In gold mining, it's called the mother lode. Timbo on the mic, dropping massive knowledge bombs with Mr. Mike Rhodes. I'll be staying tuned for another small business, big marketing episode. Timbo, the timing is perfect. I'm just getting ready to launch a new website, runwayresearch.com. The actionable tips to get started, and more importantly, the thought process for long-term success was just what I need to get going with Google AdWords. Thanks for keeping up the great work with such an inspiring podcast. I've been around since Lukey all the way back to episode 1, and just want to say thank you, and again, cheers.
Oh, Sid, mate, what a wonderful, wonderful bit of feedback. I'm not even going to try to compete with that bit of rapping because I don't have rap in me, but mate, clearly you do. And Sid Salmon from Waterloo, Canada, hey? What a great name and what a great place to be from. So, Sid, thank you so much, mate, for listening. I love it when I get some listener feedback from someone over the other side of the world. I know there's a number. In fact, I think it's the third biggest amount of downloads I get for the show actually come from Canada. Might be the 4th biggest, but right up there, mate. And love you, Canadians. We have a bit of a soft spot, the Australians and Canadians. There's something going on there. But Sid, thanks for sharing, mate. Loved the feedback. Alrighty, we have got some feedback / question from a Rolf Binder from Adelaide. He says, "Greetings, Timbo. Thanks for your show, which I find you should shorten to 50 minutes, as that is how long it takes me to drive from my home in the Barossa Valley into Adelaide." Yeah, well, it's funny, like podcasts, there is no predetermined length for a podcast. They can be 1 minute long, they can be 1 hour long, they can be 3 hours long, as long as it needs to be. I do try to sort of keep it between 40 and 60 minutes. Sometimes not easy, but anyway, thanks for tuning in, Rolf. He goes on to say, "You leave me hanging by 10 minutes. You certainly have plenty of good ideas and in your own style are a good interviewer." In your own style? Well, I wonder what that means. I know I'm no Parkinson, but anyway, I'll take that as a compliment, Rolf. He goes on to say, "I think maybe a good topic for your show could be when to say no in marketing and save money." Yes, saying no, very, very powerful. We are often told to provide great service, go the extra mile, but often it is perfectly feasible and an honourable thing to do to say no. Couldn't agree more. Keep on motivating us, Rolf Binder. Hey, thanks a lot, Rolf. He goes on, he talks about maybe even coming on the show. He's in the wine industry, obviously, living in Barossa. Rolf, when you're ready, mate, put forward the big argument for coming on the show. You've already called me Timbo. I know you listen to the show, so you're well down the track. Might even get Jake's seal of approval. Now, that is a great bit of feedback, great question, great topic to raise, because it leads on to a question from Mac Smurden. Now, Mac left a bit of Facebook love earlier with one of those physical branding ideas. G'day, Mac. Now, he says, "Hey, Tim, as a small business owner of a busy home cleaning business, we run to a tight schedule. Our aim is to provide a very personal approach to our services, like leaving muffins, biscuits, and other value-added items to engage with our clients." That's right, Mac was the fellow who left the stickers on the muffins. I think that's such a fantastic idea. I wonder whether he cooks them himself or whether he buys them and brings them in. This has had a tremendous return on investment for us, with new clients constantly being referred to us. Sadly, though, we are operating at capacity and don't plan to expand till I finish my business degree next year. Well, not sadly. I mean, if you listen to episode 143, Mac, where I interviewed Matthew Michaelvitz, he built a business. He built the the highest turnover business 4 years ago in Australia. What was it called? And it was an IT business. Suffice to say that his advice around pricing and when you get to capacity is put your price up. Don't stop taking any more customers. Put your price up. Gutsy move, because obviously you don't want to annoy some really good, long-time, loyal customers. But for future customers, you put your price up. And if they take it, then happy days. If they don't, then nothing lost. We have, however, Matt goes on to say, we have, however, one customer that doesn't appreciate all the extra things we do and constantly demanding things well beyond our means. I have tried to clearly state our situation and manage this client's expectations, all to no resolution. My question for you is, how can you tactfully fire a client? By letting this client go, we can take on a new client who is on our waiting list. Your advice would be appreciated. Keep up the brilliant work, Mac. How do you tell him? You just tell him. You be honest. That's what you do. You be honest. You sit him down and you say, this is how it is. We're busting our gut. We're doing everything we can within our powers to provide a great service. We're getting feedback from every other client that we work with to say we are doing great things. They're really appreciating us. We get a lot of referral work as well, which we can no longer take on. So I'm afraid if our service isn't up to your standard, then clearly we probably should part ways. And I just think you have that honest conversation, because why let it hang? It's ruining your time. Clearly, Mac, you're loving what you do and you're providing a great service. Why let one client like this ruin the party? Move on, mate. Just be honest with them. Tell them how it is. I think what you'll find is that client, it's not the only time that person is complaining about things, yeah? And I think those types of people can be poisonous within a business. You don't need them as clients. And in fact, with a business like yours, it sounds like you're doing so well. Insert a discovery call at the front of your business development process, Mac, where you actually interview clients to see whether they are right for you, okay? As businesses, we don't have to take on everyone. And back to Rolf's point about saying no sometimes, sometimes we just got to say, well, you know what? These are the criteria for being a client of my business. Just like I have a criteria for coming on and being interviewed on this show. I want the best for this show. I want the best for you, the listener. And so that, therefore, you've got to have some criteria. You've got to set the bar high. And that way, you can then really, really enjoy what you do. And when you work with people that you like working with or working for, then you're just going to do a great job. So, Mac, you've got no shortage of clients, mate. You can put your price up. You can say no. It takes business courage, but I think you'll really, really benefit from that. And you'll feel free. You will feel lighter for doing it. So, to both Mac and Rolf, on the question of saying no, I really appreciate it. And thanks for listening to the show. And I hope that little rant from me was of use. I'll now get off my soapbox. Alrighty, got a bit of feedback. Interesting feedback, actually. Challenging feedback from James at Baybeans. Hello, James. Long-time listener, mate. I love your title, by the way, in your email, your job title, CEO. Chief Espresso Officer. I love that. I think I've said before, I'm also the CEO of my business, Chief Everything Officer, although learning as I go, as I get older, to delegate more and more. So I'll have to change that title at some point where I stop doing everything. Now, James refers to an email that I sent out recently where I talked about having spent a full day with a client putting together a content marketing strategy, how many boxes we ticked. We ticked a lot of boxes. I go on to say in this email it was a big day. We even agreed on a way to make all this happen without causing unnecessary pain, time-wise or financially. But 4 weeks on and nothing had been done. I then go on with a bit of a rant about how we all get sucked back into the busyness of life. James challenges me on this email. He says, yeah, but 4 weeks on and nothing has been done. Mate, that's a reflection on you. The customer obviously wasn't compelled to act. Oh, kick in the guts, James. He says, me, question mark, I hang on every word you say, but I understand you and filter out the bits I don't agree with. Keep up the great work. I love that. Yeah, look, what can I say? When I read it, I thought, oh, well, he's got a point there. But I actually know for a fact, James, that client really was sucked back into the busyness of his work. And I've rung him a couple of times since. In fact, once I rang him after I received that email from you just to double check that he was totally into the strategy that we developed. And he assures me that he is, and that he really was just sucked back into the vortex of his work. So it will be pursued. It was a good email though. It was a good wake up call, because sometimes we can blame everyone but ourselves, and sometimes we've got to have a good hard look in the mirror, don't we, James? Now, mate, still waiting on that kilogram of beans to be delivered once a month from you. I know you've been listening to the show for a long time, so anytime, buddy. P.O. Box 989, Mount Eliza, 3930. Happy days. James also has a PS. I am refreshing the Baybeans website right now, and some of it based on your email, but mostly a simplification process to sell the sizzle. Good on you, mate. I think that whole simplification, so important in marketing, in the website. I see so many websites. In fact, I had a member join the forum, a photographer join the forum only yesterday, and he introduced himself in the welcome mat section of the Small Business Big Marketing Forum. I said g'day to him and went and had a look at his website. It was busy. It was busy. You know, as small business owners, we try to do so many things. We try to say so much. In fact, sometimes even big brands try to say so much, and you just got to stop. You got to stop and go, what is the most important thing I could say to a prospect in order to encourage them to do business with me? What's that most important thing? It's actually a major question on an advertising brief of any big advertising agency. It's about that single-minded thought. So simplification is a really good thing. In fact, there's a post in the Small Business Big Marketing Forum about a wallet brand out of the States, and they have got, you'd think, what could you possibly say about wallets? But they've got this most amazing website that is incredibly simple and gives you all these advice, tips and tricks on how to manage your wallet. I know, it's unbelievable. It talks about how, for blokes, we carry these big, thick wallets full of cards and coins and things, and how to actually re-engineer the way you stack and pack your wallet to make it much more presentable and easy to carry, so it doesn't look like you've got a filing cabinet in your pocket as you walk along. And wonderful website, beautifully simple, beautifully simple, very single-minded, and I think we could all learn from things like that. So, hey James, thanks for the kick in the bum, mate. I really appreciate it. All righty doodly, listeners, you motivated small business owners, you. That brings us close to the end of the show. Upcoming guests, I have got, very excited about this, Tom Potter, who founded and continues to operate Eagle Boys Pizza, one of the very biggest pizza chains in Australia, Australian-owned pizza chains. That's Tom Potter. He's coming up. I've got a writer, Joanna Weeb, a fantastic copywriter out of Canada. And I know we've had Brent Hodgson on before, maybe about, I reckon about 60, 70, 80 episodes ago. And it was incredibly well received. All of us small business owners struggle with copy, and there's always something new to learn about how to write engaging copy. If we choose to do that, you could always employ a copywriter. But Joanna's going to come on. We are going to talk copy. So I'm excited about that. Tom Potter, Joanna Weeb, and some other very, very exciting guests going forward. As you may or may not know, I've signed with exclusively with a speakers bureau, ICMI. So I now have access to some really, really interesting people, which are going to show themselves on this show in weeks ahead. Tom Potter is one of those guys. He's also signed with that speakers bureau. So pretty excited about that. Lots of successful small business owners ready to crank out some great marketing. If you want to book me as a marketing speaker, head over to timreid, reid.com.au. You can find out all about what that involves. Hey, thanks so much for tuning in to Australia's #1 marketing show. We are #1 as we go to air with this episode. Just checked on iTunes, and I am loving that. Sitting above Harvard Business School and the Australian Stock Exchange. Got to love how we punch above our marketing weight, and you can too. So until next time, guys. Thanks. Don't forget to go and join the Small Business Big Marketing Forum. If you are thinking about it, now's a good time. I can't wait for the meetup this Thursday in Melbourne. If you are wanting to catch up with myself and other listeners, go over to meetup.com/small business big marketing. Just register. It's free. And if I am going to set up another meetup in another state or another part of the world, it might just be your part of the world. So I would love to meet you at some point. All right, I reckon that's enough. Love your work. May your marketing be the best marketing, and I'll see you next week.
You've been listening to the Small Business Big Marketing Show with Tim Reid. Want more marketing goodness? Then visit smallbusinessbigmarketing.com.